You've felt it before, haven't you? That emptiness that sinks into your chest when someone you care about drifts away, vanishing without a trace. The hours stretch endlessly, dragging like heavy chains through your mind, each minute a weight pressing down on your spirit. The silence creeps into every corner of your day, wrapping itself around your thoughts, infiltrating your every action. You check your phone again and again, hoping against reason for a single message, a single sign that they are still thinking of you. Each notification ignites a spark of hope, only for it to crash into despair when it isn't from them. Nights become endless, your mind replaying every word, every glance, twisting and reshaping memory until reality feels unrecognizable. You lie awake, questioning if you were ever truly seen, if your presence mattered, or if it was all an illusion. Somewhere deep inside, you know the truth gnaws at you harder than the waiting itself. Absence isn't simply a void, it's a test, a measure of your patience, your resilience, your very heart. The truth is, when someone disappears, it's not always about lack of care. Silence, deliberate silence, carries a weight far heavier than absence alone. It tests not just your patience, but your inner strength, your ability to remain whole while feeling unseen. You may feel powerless, trapped in an invisible maze where every turn leads to longing, doubt, and a painful questioning of your worth. Yet there's an invisible force at work, something unspoken, delicate, and almost terrifying, orchestrating when and if they will return. It's not merely disappearance, it's avoidance, a dance of shadow and tension, a balance of fear and desire, and you are caught right in its center. Every heartbeat, every anxious thought, every pang of what could have been becomes amplified, and the waiting stretches infinitely, a liminal space where your emotions are both the playground and the prison. And you've been here before, haven't you? The silent waiting, the obsessive wondering, the heavy hours where time seems to stop altogether. Why haven't they reached out? What occupies their mind while you ache in silence? Do you even register in their thoughts? Or is your existence somehow insufficient to warrant contact? These questions circle endlessly, gnawing at your confidence and clarity. The truth is often hard to swallow. Avoidance does not call simply because they miss you. They do not reach out from love, longing, or sentimentality alone. There is a precise, almost mechanical moment when their inner balance tips, when fear is outweighed by desire, when curiosity, admiration, or unspoken acknowledgement of your resilience becomes too strong to resist. And that moment cannot be forced. It cannot be manipulated or predicted with certainty. During this time, it's easy to feel powerless, but you are not. Even if you are obsessing over unread messages, fleeting glimpses on social media, or imagined hints of attention, the reality is that avoidance functions on its own timetable. You cannot accelerate it, and nothing you do can dictate its pace. The crucial point to understand is that avoidance measures your response as much as it measures its own impulses. They notice, whether consciously or subconsciously, how you withstand their absence, how you preserve your dignity, and how you navigate the tension of silence without breaking. That resilience, that quiet strength, is precisely what draws them back. Not your chasing, not your pleading, but your unwavering presence in the void you've been left to inhabit. Think about that moment, the unbearable tension, the almost tangible weight of silence when someone you care for disappears. Every quiet second stretches, echoing louder than any word could, pressing questions into your mind. Do they think of me? Am I fading from their life entirely? Avoidance is not linear. It does not act on memory alone, nor sentiment, nor longing. It operates on a complex interplay of fear, desire, and the observation of how you manage the void they leave behind. They don't reach out because they remember you or because they miss the past. They reach out when the psychological scales within them tip, when desire outweighs avoidance, when the silent acknowledgement of your presence and resilience becomes undeniable. And that moment, when it arrives, will feel seismic, almost inexplicably powerful, because it is not random. It is a response to your unspoken strength. You must understand that waiting is not a sign of weakness. It is an arena where your strength is quietly tested. Every sleepless night, every heartbeat that quickens at a notification, every spiraling thought is part of the process you never see. The invisible rhythm of avoidance is intricate, precise, and deeply psychological. They are not moved by panic or nostalgia, but by the unseen tension between fear and longing, between the pull of desire and the push of resistance. And as difficult as it feels, as lonely as it seems, there is meaning in your patience. It is measured, observed, and internalized by the very person whose absence you feel. The quiet endurance you show shapes the moment when they decide to reach out, and you may not even realize how much power you've held all along. No, something much more precise, more deliberate happens inside their mind before they ever type a message or hit call. It isn't random or impulsive. It's a calculated internal process that quietly unfolds, largely invisible to anyone watching from the outside. Understanding this is essential because once you see it, the entire puzzle of no contact and sudden reappearances starts to make sense. Avoidant people live in a delicate balance between desire and fear, closeness and distance. They crave connection, but intimacy triggers an almost automatic, visceral anxiety. It isn't personal, it isn't a reflection of your value, but it is very real. The moment they finally reach out isn't accidental. It is the precise tipping point where their longing overcomes their instinct to retreat. Think of it like a pressure cooker. Thoughts, emotions, and unspoken memories build steadily day by day, quietly accumulating in a way that feels invisible but is profoundly intense. Every fleeting thought of you, every subconscious echo of the moments you shared, every memory stored in their mind adds weight, builds tension, and tightens the internal coil of emotion. For weeks or even months, the pressure grows, contained by fear and hesitation. Then, at an exact psychological point, the lid rattles. That is when action happens. Avoidant people are masters of calculation, timing, and restraint. They don't wait because they lack care. They wait because their internal math finally favors connection over avoidance, desire over fear. You might be asking yourself, how do I even know when that moment is happening? How will I see it coming? The truth is, you can't. No amount of reading signs or over-analyzing behavior will predict the precise moment. That's what gives it its power. What you can do, however, is understand the process, the mechanism behind it. Every act of reaching out, every message typed, every phone call made is a response to a quiet, invisible struggle within them. The scales have been tipping slowly, subconsciously, weighed down by your presence, your calmness, your resilience. And when it finally tips, when desire outweighs avoidance, action emerges. It is never random. It is always deliberate. Here is the difficult truth to accept. The moment they act is not entirely about you. It's not a measure of your worth or a reflection of how loved, missed, or appreciated you are. This is purely psychological. A response to their own internal conflict where your existence matters, yes, but not as the sole factor. Even with this knowledge, that moment still matters because it gives you clarity, perspective, and power. Not while you are waiting, wondering if you'll ever hear from them, not in the silence, but in that exact moment, the dynamic shifts. That moment is theirs and yours simultaneously. It is the chance to observe, understand, and recognize your own value in the process. Avoidance is tricky because it blends longing with hesitation, desire with retreat. One day they are distant, cold, and almost invisible. The next, at the precise moment their fear is overcome by something deeper, they reappear. And when they do, the clarity is remarkable. You see what was always there, hidden beneath layers of silence, excuses, and emotional calculation. Suddenly, the guessing stops. The analyzing of every delay or pause becomes unnecessary. You can finally observe without attaching your self-worth to the gaps, the silences, or the delays. Deliberation is real. Avoidance is fear amplified. Their absence is not always disinterest. It is a mechanism of self-protection, a balancing act between the comfort of connection and the anxiety of vulnerability. The key to understanding is seeing the pattern. Avoidance comes forward when fear finally succumbs to the discomfort of staying away. Their internal scale tips and they act, not because of a sudden whim, but because their desire finally outweighs their hesitation. You will recognize it not by words alone, but by actions. Observing behavior, timing, and subtle consistency becomes the lens through which truth is revealed. And the moment they reach out, you are no longer at the mercy of guessing, wondering, or analyzing every unread text. You see clearly. You understand the psychological rhythm. You retain yourself while the dynamic unfolds. That clarity, more than their message, is what gives you power. Every act of calmness, every boundary you maintain, every aspect of your life lived fully while they are absent quietly nudges the internal scale in their mind. Even if you don't consciously notice, your resilience, your ability to continue without obsession, becomes a factor they can't ignore. They sense it subconsciously. They notice it without naming it. And all those moments accumulate, subtle yet profound, until they can no longer resist the pull. That's why avoidance is not a reflection of their affection for you. It is the measure of their internal calculus. When the tipping point arrives, it is as inevitable as it is deliberate. The reappearance isn't magic, it is precision, timing, and a response to the pressure you may not even realize you've applied. They watch your life moving forward and something inside them shifts. That avoidance that once felt safe begins to feel heavier than the risk of connecting. Avoidance thrives on predictability, on control, on the illusion of safety. But discomfort operates differently. When your absence reflects what they are missing, when every thought of you nudges at the edges of their mind, the tension grows. It builds quietly, imperceptibly, day by day, thought by thought, until it can no longer be contained. Suddenly, the fear of missing out, the fear of losing you, outweighs the fear of being vulnerable. That internal tug of war, invisible to outsiders, is what finally propels them forward, bridging the distance they once insisted upon. Almost nobody notices the internal struggle that occurs before an avoidant reaches out. It is a private battle, a silent calculation of risk and desire that plays out behind a carefully maintained exterior. This is why understanding the pattern is transformative. When you see it, every delayed message, every pause in communication, every silence stops feeling like rejection. It isn't manipulation or indifference. It's a tipping point in the human psyche, the invisible moment when longing outweighs hesitation. Recognizing this gives you perspective. You no longer obsess over why they haven't called or texted. You no longer let uncertainty dominate your thoughts. Instead, you focus on yourself, your boundaries, and your life, which ironically is what most influences that internal scale within them. The moment they finally reach out is precise, deliberate, and unstoppable. It is not magic. It is not coincidence. It is the culmination of days, weeks, or months of internal calculation where every memory of you, every thought that surfaces, every tiny signal of your presence or absence adds weight to their internal balance. The tipping point arrives when they realize that staying away has become unbearable, when desire finally overpowers fear. And here is the most important part. Your role in this process is real. Your calmness, your self-respect, your refusal to chase, and your ability to live fully while absent all contribute to their internal calculus. You become, quietly but powerfully, a mirror reflecting what they have been avoiding. Mirrors are not passive. They reveal more than what exists. They reveal what is missing, what is longed for, what has been left unacknowledged. When you are constantly available, reacting instantly, seeking approval or validation, you remove tension. Connection becomes easy, predictable, safe, and consequently invisible. Avoidant people don't respond to safety. They respond to challenge, curiosity, and tension. That is why stepping back, creating distance, and living fully without them is so powerful. In doing so, you force them to confront the absence they once took for granted. That absence, combined with your resilience and boundaries, becomes the catalyst for the internal shift that finally drives them toward reconnection. Once the tipping point is reached, everything changes. It is no longer about chasing, pleading, or obsessing. It is about presence, observation, and clarity. You can witness the reappearance without losing yourself in the process. This is where real power lies, in recognizing the delicate balance of fear and desire, avoidance and longing, control and vulnerability that they navigate. It is not about proving your worth or manipulating their behavior. It is about understanding the psychological rhythm at play. Their actions, when they finally reach out, are an unfiltered reflection of an internal process, shaped in part by you, but ultimately decided by their own emotional calculations. They notice the way your life moves forward, the way your energy doesn't collapse waiting for them, the way your focus and presence remain whole without them. That avoidance, which once seemed safe, now starts to feel heavier than the very risk of connection. Suddenly, everything they feared, the vulnerability they dodged, the intimacy they avoided, becomes undeniable. Your absence reflects a reality they can no longer ignore. Life is continuing without them, and they are being left behind. The tension builds quietly, invisibly, until the discomfort of staying away finally outweighs the fear of getting close. That is the invisible moment when the push and pull resolves itself, when action emerges, deliberate and unavoidable. At that precise point, they finally reach out. The silence ends, but not because of begging, chasing, or overanalyzing on your part. It is because your life, lived fully, has become a mirror they cannot ignore. Your calm boundaries, your refusal to shrink yourself for their comfort, your ability to thrive in their absence, all trigger the internal reckoning they've been avoiding. This understanding changes everything. You stop spinning in confusion, stop dissecting every pause, every delayed reply, and stop personalizing their silence. Their actions are not about you. They are about the invisible struggle they navigate inside themselves, and your role is simply to live fully in that space. The more you focus on yourself, the more you cultivate your energy, your boundaries, and your growth, the more likely it is that your absence accelerates the internal tipping point inside them. Your calm presence becomes proof that life moves forward, that connection is not guaranteed, and that distance has consequences. Ironically, the very act of respecting yourself quietly pressures them to confront the discomfort they have been avoiding. When they finally reach out, it isn't random or impulsive. It is the precise result of an internal calculation where fear no longer outweighs desire. That moment is deliberate, and it is unstoppable, born of their own psychological and emotional processes. Avoidance always runs mental calculations, weighing risk against reward, safety against desire, distance against reconnection. When they see you moving forward, thriving, and unshaken by their absence, something inside them shifts. The fear of closeness doesn't vanish, but it begins to compete with desire. The cost of avoiding connection starts to feel heavier than the comfort it once provided. They begin to realize what has been missing, not just you, but what you represent. Emotional strength, clarity, freedom, and the ability to live without being dependent on their approval. And when that internal weight tips, when discomfort outweighs fear, that is the precise moment they act. Your boundaries create the conditions for that moment, effortlessly, yet powerfully. No contact works, not because of manipulation, but because it gives the avoidant person a space to confront reality. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting what they have been avoiding: fear, desire, longing, and vulnerability. When the tension of absence becomes unbearable, the scales tip. They act because they finally acknowledge the emotional cost of distance, not because you chased or begged. Understanding this allows you to reclaim power during their silence. You stop personalizing delays or pauses, stop obsessing over every unread message, and see clearly that your role is not to manipulate outcomes, but to live fully, hold space for yourself, and protect your boundaries. Your presence and absence shape the conditions for their decision. Every step you take to live unapologetically, every boundary you honor, every bit of your energy invested in yourself adds weight to their internal calculations. Your calm life becomes proof that life continues, that connection is not guaranteed, and that avoidance has consequences. Their mind runs constant internal simulations, weighing the risk of vulnerability against the discomfort of remaining distant. The tipping point is inevitable when desire outweighs avoidance, when longing becomes heavier than fear. Understanding this gives you freedom, clarity, and perspective. You are never powerless. You are never fully at the mercy of their silence. You are grounded, aware, and in control of your own energy and boundaries. Small signals, subtle gestures, story views, likes, or minor comments are often glimpses of the mind leaning toward reconnection before the actual contact occurs. Awareness of these cues is not obsession, it is insight. It allows you to understand the invisible process as it unfolds. So when the text, the call, or the message finally arrives, you are ready to respond with clarity, not panic. Avoidance operates on its own timeline, dictated by an internal psychological and emotional calculation, yet your role in the process, through presence, resilience, and self-respect, shapes the moment. Your life, fully lived, becomes the catalyst for their action. But the microsigns, the fleeting comments, story views, subtle gestures, and lingering presence appear first. These are the tiny cracks in the wall of avoidance, the initial ways their mind cautiously explores connection without triggering overwhelming fear. They are testing the waters, gauging emotional safety, and rehearsing their responses before fully committing to action. Recognizing these micro-signals changes everything. You stop seeing each interaction as random, reactive, or emotionally loaded in isolation. Instead, you understand it as part of a larger process, a quiet buildup leading to a tipping point. Every small engagement is deliberate, filtered through a combination of fear, desire, strategy, and control, and each is a rehearsal for the eventual step toward connection. That is why so many people feel blindsided when an avoidant suddenly reaches out. It appears abrupt, because the culmination of months, sometimes years, of subtle internal negotiation is invisible until the final act manifests. Awareness of this process keeps you grounded, allowing you to observe without reacting impulsively. You don't chase, plead, or overanalyze every small gesture. You maintain clarity and energy, understanding that the storm is forming gradually in ways often imperceptible. Like noticing clouds gathering, wind shifting, and temperature changing before a real storm hits, you prepare, adjust, and remain steady. When the moment arrives, you are ready, not surprised, not desperate, but grounded and fully aware of the process that led to it. When someone avoids connection, it's easy to misinterpret their silence as disinterest or a lack of care. But avoidance is far more complex than simple rejection. It is a constant negotiation between fear and desire, distance and longing. Their mind is always calculating, always assessing risk. Every moment of quiet is not empty. It is charged with tension, weighted by thoughts of what they want and what they fear. They measure the emotional cost of connection against the comfort of staying apart. In this calculus, every gesture, every small sign, every micro interaction becomes significant, even if subtle. A like on a story, a fleeting comment, or a brief message is not meaningless. It is a signal, a way of testing their own readiness without fully exposing themselves. Avoidant individuals are often masters of emotional self-protection. They crave closeness, but intimacy triggers anxiety that feels almost uncontrollable. That's why they withdraw or vanish, even when affection exists. It is not about love or care being absent. It is about fear being present. The longer they stay away, the more their longing grows, but so does their internal friction. They oscillate between wanting to reach out and fearing the consequences of doing so. This creates a tension that is invisible to the outside world, but profoundly real. Your presence in life, particularly when you live fully and honor your own boundaries, acts like a mirror reflecting what they have been avoiding. That mirror is inescapable. It quietly exerts pressure over time, and eventually the discomfort of staying apart outweighs the fear of reaching out. Microsigns often precede any direct contact. These are small gestures, watching your stories, subtle likes, brief comments, or minor check-ins. They seem almost inconsequential, but they are carefully filtered tests. Avoidant individuals are constantly asking themselves, is it safe? Can I handle the consequences? Will I be rejected? Am I ready to feel vulnerable? These minor movements are the rehearsal stage, a way of leaning toward connection without triggering the intense fear that intimacy provokes. Observing these signals allows you to see the process unfolding in real time. You no longer feel blindsided by sudden contact. Instead, you understand that the approaching interaction is the result of an internal negotiation that has been building steadily, quietly, for weeks or months. The tipping point, the moment when they finally reach out, is never random. It is the inevitable product of invisible psychological pressure. Fear is always present, but at a certain point, desire, longing, and awareness of loss tip the balance. The discomfort of continued distance outweighs the fear of vulnerability. That is when the wall they have built begins to crack. When they contact you, it is not because of manipulation or chance. It is the outcome of a careful internal calculation that has reached its breaking point. Understanding this reframes their behavior entirely. Silence is no longer a punishment. Absence is no longer a personal reflection of your value. Instead, you see it as part of a predictable internal emotional process. Your own role in this is quiet but essential. By living fully, holding boundaries, and refusing to chase, you indirectly influence the internal scale of their emotions. They observe your energy, your clarity, your calmness. You become a living demonstration of the reality they are avoiding, and in that reflection, they confront what is missing in their own life. The more grounded and self-sufficient you are, the more the internal pressure builds for them to act. This is why no-contact strategies work so powerfully. They are not about punishing or testing, but about creating the conditions for an avoidant individual to face the truth of their own emotional calculus. When they finally reach out, every previous moment, the absences, the delays, the subtle signals, comes together in a deliberate, meaningful culmination. Understanding this allows you to respond with awareness and composure, rather than anxiety or desperation. You are never powerless, even while waiting. Your role is to maintain your boundaries, live authentically, and respect your own emotional space. The moment they act is as much about your presence in life as it is about their internal struggle. By recognizing this, you stop overanalyzing, stop chasing, and stop letting uncertainty dictate your energy. You step into the clarity of observing the process without being consumed by it. Even after contact occurs, the same principles remain at play. Avoidant individuals continue to negotiate internally, balancing desire against fear, risk against comfort. Their actions, when observed with awareness, can be seen as part of this ongoing process. Understanding the microsigns, the tipping points, and the psychological calculations allows you to remain grounded, clear, and emotionally secure. You respond from strength, not anxiety, because you understand the pattern. Each interaction is part of a larger rhythm, a dance between closeness and withdrawal, vulnerability and protection, desire and fear. Observing this dance with clarity gives you power and freedom because you see the process for what it truly is, a complex, deliberate, human negotiation unfolding quietly behind the surface. Finally, it is essential to see their approach as a process, not an accident. Every subtle check, every micro gesture, every minimal engagement is a piece of the larger puzzle. an intentional act designed to test, measure, and prepare them for eventual connection. When the puzzle comes together, the culmination is inevitable. Understanding this allows you to disengage from anxiety, speculation, or reactive behavior. You observe the buildup, respect your boundaries, and remain in full control of your life while they navigate their internal calculus. By the time contact occurs, you are ready. Not anxious, not reactive, but fully present, composed, and empowered to respond in a way that reflects your value, strength, and clarity.